Hi, welcome back to another episode of Geekified. We are talking about some news today that is came out just within the past couple of days of a trailer, and I sense this one is going to be a bit of a pile-on because we're going to be talking about Micheal Bay's new film, and that is Songbird. So most people, we've already got articles on a couple of websites, and we've got a few YouTube channels already discussing it, where we're here to have a bit of a chat about it because it's a bit controversial. It's a bit different from the standard, what I would expect from Micheal Bay, or what I would normally expect would be something along the lines of Tony's Backdrop there. But we're getting a pandemic movie. So I'll fire up a quick clip of the trailer that's been released.
Worldwide death toll rises to over 110 million.
All infected Americans are being forced into quarantine camps.
Sarah.
Every little thing's gonna be alright.
So there you have it. That's a little bit of what's coming up from Micheal Bay. Well, I am here. I'm ready for a pile-on, boys. So who's first?
I'm not going to pile on.
I'm the same with Nathan. I was going to pile on, but then I thought, I went back and, looked at the films that he's done and looked at, what he started out doing. And
yeah, his first one was famously the Spanish influenza, and then it was SARS, then it was the AIDS crisis. So now COVID-23 just makes so much sense.
I think the thing about it is he's not directed or written it. He's producing.
Okay.
So he's attached as a producer, but there's about 8 producers in this film. So it suggests that they probably attached his name to get, distribution or whatever. It's been distributed by a fairly new distribution company, who probably, the way I look at it is a filmmaker makes a film, and then it's up to the studio or the distribution whether it's going to get put out or not. So I think if it offends your sensibilities, a film about the pandemic, then I think it should the fury should land on the studio, not necessarily the guy that's made it.
I'm going to wholeheartedly disagree with you on that because Micheal Bay has slapped his name full front and centre on this film, a film that is so controversial and so wrong at this time. I mean, you should not be making a film and calling the disease COVID-23 in the middle of a pandemic when people are worried about their jobs, worried about their safety, worried about their lives. And they could have come up with any other name, is my issue, but they called it COVID-23, which basically the exact same disease, which could happen in 3 years' time. That's what they're basically saying it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, it is the same disease. It's just a different strain. COVID-19 is a different strain of one that we've had for years.
You could have called it Transformers 45. You could have called it Jobby 27. But you've called it something that is going to attach and ingrain into someone's head of the shit that they've been through this year. And for me, I'm out. That's not cool. That's not a way to
it was just shameless cash grab calling it COVID-23. They probably had a shit script sitting on a desk somewhere, which was called something random, and then they've gone, all right, that pandemic movie. Could we just like do auto replace word and change flu to COVID-23 everywhere? 15 instances, auto change, done. That's it. That's how they wrote the script. Well, it was already written. Someone did write that. But yeah, for me, I agree with Chris. It's a shameless cash grab on people's fears. But I actually genuinely think that it will backfire. I don't think people will watch this and it will generate less money than it costs to make.
No, I agree with that. But I think that same with anything. I think you need, if you don't want to go and see it, don't go and see it. I think getting, I don't know. For me, it's like there's no point in getting upset about something you haven't seen. So when people complain about TV shows when they haven't seen them, So I mean, what I've read about it is it's apparently it's loosely based on Romeo and Juliet, the story. So although it's set at the backdrop of this pandemic, maybe it's not going to be that sort of film. From looking at the trailer, it looked more like The Purge or something like that.
Is it not the producer of The Purge as well?
I think it might be.
It's the producer of Get Out and The Purge.
Yeah.
On top.
I think it might be a case, we're talking about distribution companies. They're the people who are usually in the charge of how they package and sell the film in terms of trailer, and sometimes it might be like a late change name as well, and especially when they're distributing it and marketing in different countries as well. So they've obviously went for this decision to call it this. But yeah, it could backfire or not. But then again, you know, we haven't seen the film. So I think the way the one that I'm piling on in is the way they've marketed it is completely wrong. You know, they're just taking advantage, cash grabbing, but it might turn out to be a completely different film. Like, hopefully, you know, it might be a political film, maybe, on the way, you know, governments have been handling, you know, the disease. I do know that Micheal Bay has had, well, we started out doing sort of like propaganda films when he first started. You know, famously it got picked up by Coca-Cola about, in some films he does do very subtle references to stuff that he disagrees with what the government's doing. So this could be a very political propaganda film.
Yeah.
Entrenched in this sort of a Micheal Bay sort of type produced film. That I think that's the only way that would save it. But I completely agree. It's been completely marketed wrong, and they've cash grabbed.
Yeah, I'm not going to. I'm not piling on Micheal Bay. I'm absolutely not piling on Micheal Bay, because one of my favourite films from last year or year before was Six Underground with Ryan Reynolds. What a phenomenal film! And I don't understand why that's not been picked up. I thought that was fantastic. I think the look, he's a visionary when it comes to his shots. Possibly not the best director, because obviously there's a lot of stories of things that have happened and how he treats people and stuff on set. Let's not go into that. It's another episode. But the shots that he comes up with, the style of his shooting, everything he does as a visionary, I think is absolutely fantastic. I am hitting on this film. I'm saying this film is absolutely the wrong time, the wrong place. It's just absolutely unnecessary.
I agree with that, but I just think that it's always been, they've decided to market it as a Micheal Bay film because he's the only of the, you know, the behind the camera people that are well known in it. I mean, the director I haven't heard of, and the director and writer I haven't heard of before. I'm not sure what else he's done, but I think, you know, like I said, I think if you're going to pile on for that, then that's the distribution company.
Yeah,
I disagree.
SPX Entertainment, something like that it's called.
I completely disagree.
It takes the initial money man to get the movie made, to get it to the distribution. So I think it's as much Bay's fault for paying in, but it's also, you're saying there's 8 other producers. All 7 of them, including then Bay on top, should be ashamed of themselves for just this. I mean, to also release it, 2 days before the election, which was like the biggest historical election in America's history. Fear is already at a rampant rage over there. And then they've just added to it by going, oh yeah, COVID might last 4 more years. Spanish influenza lasted 3. You know, it's just bad timing all around and poor taste. And I mean, end of the day, I actually don't dislike Micheal Bay. I think the Transformer movies became incredibly dull.
Yeah.
But when he gets it right, he does get it really right. Like, I mean, Pain and Gain was definitely one of my top movies of all time. It's just hilariously good and easy to watch.
Yep. Nick, how are you feeling, buddy? What's your stance?
It's really piss poor timing. Obviously, got to agree, it's not really the best topic to be doing just now. But obviously, when you're talking about it, surely if Micheal Bay's the biggest producer on it, or the biggest sort of name, surely he's got a lot of sway in how that film would go. So even though that they might have filmed it and it is a pandemic movie, that's fine. You've got other pandemic movies that have been filmed before. But surely he's sat around the table with the rest of these guys and thought to himself, this might not be the best timing for it. The trailer looks really good though. Don't get me wrong. The trailer looks really good. The film itself looks pretty decent for what's obviously there. But I just don't think they've, you know, had any sensitivity in the decision. They've just went, this is, you know, hot topic, it's current, you know, we can get this out and people might watch out interest because of what's going on there now. But I think as you were saying at the start, people lost their jobs through it. People are still losing jobs left, right, and centre. There's countries, ball deep in, shutdowns, lockdowns, the furlough, the lot. So I do think that the distribution companies and stuff, I do kind of need to have a good look at themselves in the mirror for this, especially if it does backfire, because it is going to be something that, if it does backfire, that is a black mark on Micheal Bay's name, in terms of the fact that he's actually, slapped behind, slapped behind front and centre in this. It's basically, if you go through any sort of social media with it as well, you would find Micheal Bay's directing the thing, with the way it's all worded and everything. So it's a case of, really piss poor timing, but I'll probably end up watching it just to see what it's like. But yeah, not really impressed with it, the topic and stuff and the timing. Because it easily released in 2-3 years' time.
Can I be a devil's advocate then?
Mm-hmm.
Or so most of us are in sort of, or have attachments to the art industry in different types of form. But then, like, if we can't talk about sensitive topics that are currently going on, be that politically or medically, or, is it not the reason why we have arts, the reason why we have theatre, music, is so we can express and talk about subjects or show to the world subjects that should be getting talked about.
Oh no, I fully
because I think, okay, maybe, I think it was a political move to drop that trailer 2 days before the election, what's going on in America, to what Trump's doing in terms of, the way he's been handling. So it was maybe, look, guys, if you don't vote Biden, this is what's going to happen, sort of thing. And there will be a portion of America population who would have went, oh my God, that's going to happen. And is it not as artists, to have free expression and, to do these things and talk about these subjects?
I agree with you 100%, Tony, but I don't think you should release a very serious and very realistic pandemic movie in the middle of a pandemic. Everybody's affected by this. This film could have been, you're talking about the vaccines possibly being released by Christmas. In some places, you're talking about the start of next year is when we're possibly going to have a vaccine for the world, and this will be over and done with. This could have been delayed. They've delayed every other movie under the sun. This movie did not have to come out, be released last week. It did not have to be shown last week. And again, I don't think it needed to have Micheal Bay's name on it either.
But then if we look at the history of filmmaking and different world events that have happened, how many war films came out during, the wars in Iraq? The first one and the second one.
Yeah, so we're now talking, it's propaganda now instead of entertainment.
And that's what Mike is. He is from a propaganda background. He started that. So that's clearly,
You could say it's genius marketing. You get an awful lot of press, and Twitter in the Twitter sphere especially, it's gone nuts about it. So it's all free press, and no such thing as bad publicity.
And how often
people
will
go and see it to get offended by it in a way.
Yeah. Well, the bitter irony is none of us will be able to go see it with all the movie theaters closing back down again, And but yeah, you're right. Because how often do we actually talk about something before it releases on this channel? Mm-hmm. But we were all talking about this so much last night that we were like, no, let's make this the discussion. Mm-hmm. And I totally agree with Tony. Artists should be able to create art about anything. And once you start censoring one subject, what makes one subject racist, what makes one subject, offensive in comparison to another, So I completely agree. But I do also think this is a bit tone deaf. Mm-hmm. It smells Hollywood cash grab. The fact that, ironically, if it had been an independent director and production and distribution team, which it seemed to be almost before Bay got involved, I think this would have flown under the radar, landed on Netflix as just another pandemic movie for people to watch. Because Pandemic was the #1 movie on Netflix the week we all went into lockdown last. So people clearly want it,
Is Pandemic not a space movie?
Contagion.
It's
Contagion.
Contagion.
Oh, Contagion. Yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, like, well, to be fair, would you release Contagion right now?
Well, it's been shown they did. They put it on. Well, that's like Netflix or Amazon not putting that on their roster for you to be able to watch.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it would have been there. It's a very popular film, but would you release it right now? Would you release a horrendously realistic, horrible life story where literally millions of people are seen dead, buried?
But they
there's
did
no
though, Joe.
hope.
They did though, Chris, because it was on ITV in this country the week that we locked down in March, and then it was released on Netflix about 2 weeks later, and it was like Mark said, it was the number one thing on
And there's
Netflix.
a banner that comes
We
across.
effectively got a release of it.
Yeah.
You know,
But what I'm saying is, would you release it like as a brand new film right now?
Personally, me, no, because I feel that when people are still going through such horrible events, it's not right for someone else to be capitalizing on it. You know, like, I mean, I don't want to get political at all here, so I'm going to keep this brief. But the fact that, you know, one very powerful Scottish businesswoman went and made a PPE company and then got the top contract from our government during the pandemic. People are just cash grabbing during the pandemic in big, big, dirty ways. You know,
If you don't want to name her, I will name her, and I'll say that she is. It's absolutely disgusting what Michelle Moan did. Michelle Moan, if you ever watch this channel, go fuck yourself. Sorry,
But, you
I don't
know,
give a
so-
shit. I don't give a shit. You're cash grabbing in the middle of a pandemic. You are absolute scum. And if you're watching this and you're a viewer and you're offended by what I'm said, I'm really sorry. But personal opinion, that's it. I just don't think that's right to be doing that. Anyway,
to go with what Tony said earlier, I mean, since sort of 9/11, there's been this new sort of Hollywood genre of this sort of terrorist movie, and and these are always really successful. And we live in an age of ISIS and global terrorism and stuff like that, but people aren't coming out and being outraged by the fact that there's a movie coming out about Arab terrorists. So what's the difference?
Well,
it's not a movie. It's not a movie directly about ISIS.
Yeah.
It's not a movie
some of them
direct.
It's
No, but it's fictionalized, Nathan. Everything that comes out is fictionalized. It's not exactly what is happening in a specific town that's coming over to London, or it's all fictionalized. It's all either a different city, a different place, an unnamed place. We are talking about a pandemic that is gripping the nation, that people, I know someone that's died. I now know someone that's actually died from it. We all work in either the arts or hospitality. Nick works in sports, which is, we are all dangerously close to the edge of losing our jobs. I mean, Tony, you've practically lost how much work probably by now?
I've lost 2 jobs.
He's lost 2 jobs. That's his pay gone. Mark, how much have you lost?
Yeah, I just went and got a different job for the time being because
That's
there's
what I mean,
barely anything going anymore.
the stress that people are going through, and then and I'll go back and I will hark on about it because I think it's disgusting, calling the disease COVID-23. Absolute shame on whoever came up with that. Shame on you for being a writer, for being a producer, a director on this film. That's disgusting. There's no need for that. Separate it a little bit.
That's the biggie. Just change the name of it. And ironically, this movie would probably be some B-movie slop that passed everyone by.
Yeah.
I think as well with it, like you're saying about the political aspect of it, it's probably quite interesting because a lot of the bigger stars in it are fairly well-known, strong Democrat supporters.
Mm-hmm.
Bradley Whitford is very vocal on social media about his hatred for Trump. Demi Moore is a well-known Democrat. Craig Robinson, what's his name? Craig Ferguson, the black guy. Yeah, he's a well-known Democrat supporter as well. So, like you said, maybe it was just almost like Borat was,
I think, yeah. Then that's
attack vehicle on Trump.
Yeah, this is what I'm hoping. This is the only way this movie is going to be saved. If we go and watch it, and then we don't really see much of the pandemic, but it's how it's affected the people, and it does turn out to be a political propaganda movie.
Mm.
But you don't release a trailer like that 2 days before an election, calling it COVID-23. You just get a different name and push the film being a Micheal Bay, having Demi Moore in it. You just don't.
Even if it was going to be COVID-23 and it's too late and it's all locked in, the CGI is done, the voiceovers are done. In the trailer, just abbreviate it to virus.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
They say virus multiple times in the trailer.
It's
They
not that
didn't
hard.
need to name it.
It's
You know,
really
they-
not that hard at all to change stuff in CGI. I mean,
No,
you've worked
I totally know, but if the budget's completely gone and they're really genuinely like, oh, well, we totally missed that one and now we don't have any money left to change it, you just don't name it in the trailer because it was tone deaf. The timing was terrible. And like, because America has had the most death out of anyone, right?
Yeah.
Like the last time I looked at their numbers, it was like 99,000 people were infected this week alone or something crazy. I'm terrible with numbers, but it was, I was literally sitting eating my lunch and I just went, holy crap, like that's ridiculous. Like I can't even imagine that many people in a room, let alone all with the same group. And yeah, just for someone as big as Micheal Bay to come out, do you know what? Micheal Bay should be doing a great, fun, over-the-top blockbuster and sending it to Netflix for us to all enjoy.
Yeah, that's separation from
Something
the real world.
fun.
Do a sequel to do 7 Underground, 5 Underground, whatever you want to call it. Like
Opened up for it,
seven above ground.
Bad guys at the start, didn't they? And then they won. You got one in the first one.
Yeah. You know, I mean, it's probably the most political episode we've ever done. But I'll say it again, like I really, the one thing I will call out, and I'll say, if the producers of this film, if Micheal Bay or anybody involved in this film decides to donate all of their wages and any profits made from this film to people that have been affected by COVID, people that have lost their jobs, people that have died, if that happens, then I'll be very, very forgiving of the film. Until then, I think that for me, utterly bad taste, and I'm so disappointed in Micheal Bay. But hey,
shameless cash grab.
Yeah,
that's the thing. If you're going to make a political thing, and this is why you're doing it, and you come out and you do interviews saying, "Oh, it's a propaganda," thing, then you've got to back it up, put your money where your mouth is, and then help buy PPI for disadvantaged areas and stuff like that. You have to.
So I'll shamelessly put this on Twitter when I've got this up tonight. And I'm putting this up pretty raw. I'm just going to put the Geekified thing on this and get it up as quick as I can. And I'm going to shamelessly plug and tag Micheal Bay in this. And you never know. You never know. Micheal, you're a fantastic director and you're good at what you do. But dude, watch where your name goes. Yeah. For me, just watch where your name goes, man. No need. But hey.
I guess it would also be fair that we should watch it when is it available? When do we know when it's available?
2021.
They haven't announced it yet.
Yeah.
They just announced the trailer, dropped the trailer, and then.
So I assumed that they released the trailer because it was imminent. But no, it really was just released before the election just to cause fear and propaganda. Wow. Yeah, that makes me hate it even more. Yeah, but I will, you know what, out of fairness, I will watch it when I get the chance.
I'm not paying for it.
I was hoping that one of you guys would pay for it and I'll just come and sit with my mask on.
I will pirate the shit out of this film. Nobody's getting a penny from me unless all the profits and all the money, Mr. Bay, and whatever production company you are, go to help people who've been affected by this shit, by COVID-23.
Ironic, because Optimus Prime actually wears a mask.
Yeah.
With the irony. Maybe Optimus is just going to turn up at the end and just save everybody.
Yeah.
It would be good if this is an amazing stealth Transformers movie.
Wow.
and it was nothing to do with COVID-23. It was the Decepticons, and they just
a virus.
The Decepticons displaced all these people, and Songbird. He is actually giving us the summer blockbuster that we want.
So Songbird's just Bumblebee's sister.
Yeah.
Exactly. Songbird's just going to be like some 1960s camper van,
Right. Well, probably the most political episode we've ever done. Quite surprising. Normally we're a little bit more lighthearted, but I'm normally a little bit more lighthearted about stuff. But hey, thanks very much for watching. If you've enjoyed this, please like and subscribe. If you're listening on the podcast, please join us on our YouTube channel so you can see my ugly mug try to coordinate these monkeys. But we will be back for another episode shortly. Probably more Marvel related, more DC related, more a little bit more comic booky to perk up your days. But thank you very much for tuning in and listening to us. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for having us.
We can do this all day.